kit, hoping it is all right in all white as they look to stay in touch with Melbourne City on top. Out of last night, they're down to 5th. Sydney on 31 points, Melbourne City on 38, with Adelaide, Central Coast and Macarthur in between them. And down the bottom, Newcastle can actually climb off the bottom. An elite Melbourne victory with a huge win ahead of Victory's trip to Perth tomorrow. There is that live ladder, compressed from 2nd to 9th. It's quite incredible. But let's get to the team news. And the Jets, well, they've made 4 changes to the side that fell to Melbourne City 9 days ago. That man, Nigel Bogard, finally returns off the scene since mid-March. He brings some welcome leadership. Connor O'Toole is back at left wing-back. New signing Jordan O'Doherty is immediately given a chance. And Roy O'Donovan is back from suspension. So 11 without a win, perhaps a triple O solution in this, an emergency for the Jets. As for Sydney, well, it's stability again with team selection. Steve Corica forced into one change from the Derby defeat last Saturday in Sydney. Anthony Caceres, who nearly got something out of that game for the Sky Blues, starts in place of the suspended Luke Bratton. New signing Adam Lafondra didn't make the trip. He trained in Sydney this morning after being released from quarantine last night. And Milos Ninkovic, speaking of signings, there is a story that when Milos Ninkovic came to Australia, he had 2 offers in front of him. One from Sydney FC, the other from Newcastle Jets. He chose the former, not the latter, and the rest, as you say, is history. He's gone on to become one of the greatest imports we've ever seen in this competition and in Australian club football history. And new beginnings. There's one for Jordan O'Doherty, who's played 8 games for Western Sydney Wanderers this season. 2 of them starts. He did turn into a bit of a peripheral figure, unfortunately, for Carl Robinson. From his perspective, now it's a fresh start. He signed a contract this week. Steven Ugarkovic has gone the other way. So one of the mainstays of the Jets over the past few seasons is gone. Jordan O'Doherty looking to make an immediate impact. And Craig Deans, he's not hiding. He knows his team is under the pump. He said his team, after that Melbourne City loss, lacked experience and steel. This town is known as a steel city, given its history in industry. That is the base expectation of a football side from these parts. Perhaps we see something different tonight with that man back in the lineup. It's a huge occasion for the Jets to get something back after what's been such a disappointing season so far and avoid that wooden spoon. As for Sydney FC, geez, it's going to be difficult if they don't get all 3 points tonight to think about getting above Melbourne City as the end of the season. The premiership reaches an exciting conclusion. So we're about to go here in Newcastle on a beautiful evening for football. Alex King gets us underway. Sydney FC in white. Paulo Retre takes off with the ball instead of sending it long. And it's a very good evening again to Andy Harper.
Adam, how are you? Looking forward to this one, of course. Can Sydney leap themselves, catapult themselves into 2nd place with 3 points, which is, I'm sure, the widely held expectation. And Newcastle need to do something, to find something, and if they can spoil Sydney's party, get themselves off the bottom of the table in the meantime.
Early touch for Anthony Caceres, who's playing in a deeper role, which he has done on some occasions this season for Sydney FC, but Luke Bratton has played all but 1 game, and he's anchored midfield for Sydney. It's Caceres and Retre sharing duties this evening in that area of the park to set up players like the man on the ball, Milos Ninkovic, cause a bit of damage further upfield. That's an interesting one from Retre, because he split McGowan and Redmayne right down the middle with a pass to the far corner. And it is a back 3 with 2 wing-backs, Miller and O'Toole, the wing-backs harps for Newcastle Jets. But interestingly, Lockie Jackson, who is a left-footer, is on the right side of that back 3.
Yeah, well, it's because Nikolai Topol-Stanley is also a left-footer and seniority wins the day.
Yep. Bogard in the middle. King passes it straight to Jackson, who gets in the way again. And O'Doherty. And the ball. Miller looking for Hoffman. Babo. And Ninkovic. Hassled by Hoffman. Rides that challenge out to McGowan. Bomjohan is tripped up by Thurgate.
Very light on his feet there. It's Bomjohan. Thurgate says I didn't touch him much. Ref says you don't have to.
Thurgate, one of the few Northern New South Wales products, which is a topic of conversation. Not sure if you started the conversation, Harps, but you certainly were part of the conversation, and that's obviously for another day. But Thurgate, a product firstly out of Port Macquarie, but a proud Jet. Caceres. So a pattern emerging already in the 3 minutes that Sydney comfortable in possession. Newcastle happy to sit back. Barbarousis with a chance. Bogart gets in the way, but corner.
Well, they're blocking up the centre of the field, the Jets, to counter those two attacking midfielders that Sydney use. And Costa Barbarousis, who was released there into the penalty area, might have done better. Nigel Bogard with the deflection for the corner.
Bomjohan's corner. Attacking it is Babo. You can't quite believe that that's a goal kick. Please, Alex. Steve Corica certainly wins the Best Dressed award here. Had the look of immense disappointment and deflation last week, as you'd expect out of a derby, but a derby that they perhaps thought they should have got something out of, Sydney FC. Didn't quite. Doherty. Miller. King gets back to cover up after that through ball from Miller. Interesting to see what kind of performance Matt Miller puts in, because he looked to be a little off it against Melbourne City last start. Here he is again. It's a neat ball through to Hoffman. He looks to turn around and get a dangerous looking cross into the edge of the 6-yard box, but Redmayne claims pretty comfortably. And this gives us a chance to get downstairs to our man pitch side, Nico Pajarillo.
Yeah, good evening, guys. Gorgeous day, and the Hunter has made for some great conditions for football here this evening. The pitch was dug up pretty badly by the Knights and Roosters in the NRL last weekend, but it looks to be in pretty decent shape now. We'll see how it holds up.
Yeah, it looks to be the ball travelling pretty well. Thank you for that, Nico. Best seat in the house down there. Vocal crew made the trip up the M1 in the corner there. We heard them come a mile away before the game. Wilkinson, Babo, Ninkovic, 3 Jets around him immediately. Back to Rattray, using the width of the pitch on this occasion. Out to Grant. Bomjohan. Grant, quick ball movement here from Sydney. Grant's off and running. Intelligent run as well. Deflected cross. Finds Italiano.
Beautiful, slick combination between Grant and Bomjohan. Newcastle recovered well and even got away with a missed back heel from Ryan Grant, but it still worked for Sydney. Newcastle's stayed concentrating. It was Italiano with his first touch of the ball in the Newcastle goal.
About a week and a half away from finding out who will be chosen for the Socceroos for the World Cup qualifiers. I dare say that Ryan Grant will come into calculations rather heavily. Pretty much guarantee that he will be needing his passport soon. Jackson looking to shepherd that one out. That's not a fair fight. He and Ninkovic. Adam Lafondra not involved this evening. Understand that Sydney FC are actually putting on a match on Tuesday involving an internal one, involving Lafondra, but also to give minutes to some of the players that haven't got a stack of minutes this season who need them, given the fact that Sydney might be without a couple for the back end of the campaign, like Ryan Grant, like potentially a Luke Bratton. Can't remember Connor O'Toole touching the ball yet, Harps. It's all been down this right side for the Jets.
Well, they haven't had much of the ball themselves yet. They've set out steadily of Newcastle. They haven't looked to open their shoulders yet, you're right.
Miller elects to go back to launch one. Isn't quite the full shot put, but will maintain territory here, Newcastle. Difficult to break Sydney down in a situation like this, given how well set they are. Barbarouses staying up near halfway for a potential breakaway. Won't need it. It's a goal kick, though. And Newcastle, just to reiterate how big a game this is for them, everyone's just pig sick of not getting results. 11 without a win. Their last win, February 21, and that was Melbourne victory away in a really good away performance. Here's Barbarouses through. Good first touch. Italiano off his line. Costa overcooked it. And having a conversation with Babot, who wanted the ball crossed.
Yeah, I don't think there can be a lot of accusation about Costa having a dip from there. Sensed rightly that Italiano was backpedaling fast, and there were two Jets defenders between he and Babot. It's a nice attack from Sydney over the top. Barbarouses is too fast.
Ninkovic along with O'Doherty, all the way back to Wilkinson and King. Craig Deans, Shape, Geordie and Gus, the two defensive midfielders, and one of them's just been blown by Bom Johan, whose cross can't quite find Babot. Yeah, that was a real burst from the German, straight past Angus Thurgate, left him in his wake. Here's Miller, back the other way. Ninkovic tracking him. Better from Miller, opens up the shot in his left foot, a little touch. O'Donovan is offside, flag straight up, they'll check it, but the flag did go straight up. Enterprising run though from Matt Miller.
Yeah, it was a good run from Matt Miller. Not 100% sure if it was a ball or a curled shot for the far post, but it was a really positive piece of play. And there's Roy. Offside, tidy finish as it was. Not sure if Redmayne was ever particularly interested, sensed it was probably going to be offside.
Yeah, the rugby league markings helped on that occasion. It was dead across the 10-metre line there, so didn't need the other lines there. They've done a really good job here. Really good job of the ground here in Newcastle, given the heavy traffic and pretty average weather over the last week.
Well, the floods have really bitten here. This is a big story, the stadium, between the Jets and the Knights, with the local authorities, and they had that same issue with the Wanderers of their supply of turf from Windsor was flooded in that downpour. So they've had a few acute management issues here at the stadium. The pitch looks to be in good play today.
And importantly, Matt Miller I mentioned before, last week wasn't quite up to the standard and we're only judging him on the standard that we've seen him before he went away. He hasn't quite recaptured that form yet, but a bright start.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. You know, we didn't set that standard for him, he did. And since coming back from England, he's not hit those heights, but he started positively here today, which is a good sign.
Sydney FC have a fantastic record against Newcastle as Barbarouses looks for a foul. Bogard wins that little battle, but Sydney lost just 3 of the last 23 against Newcastle, the last of which was a round 12 win at Cogra. Here's the new signing for the Jets, Doherty. Lively midfielder. Miller, they've numbered up really well on this side, Sydney, so Miller looks to go infield. Sydney looked to break quickly. Barbarouses outside of the boot ball, and Babo, well, I won't call him slow, I'll just call Lockie Jackson very quick, and that's not a great matchup across the ground.
And that's actually because Babo's no slouch despite his tender mid-30s age, but Jackson can move.
Tender when you get to your mid-30s. Until mid-40s. Caceres quite got himself involved in the game heavily yet. Ryan Grant has, and here he is with the ball into the final third. Options are plenty in front of him. Ninkovic is just beyond him. King will get there first. Early cross. Barbarouses straight at Italiano.
And that's good contact from Costa. Confidence booster. Joel King, beautiful delivery. And comfortable for Italiano as the mini Inquisition gets underway in the centre of the Jets' defence.
Crucial. Shots for the season for Mr. Barbarouses for 6 goals so far. We talk about comparisons with players and comparing against themselves. That's not his standard. Here's O'Toole with a chance. And it's brought undone by a heavy touch. They'll get it back, the Jets. Thurgate. Doherty. Or Stanley. It's only O'Donovan on the last line, and there's a perfect line set by the defensive quartet for Sydney FC. Miller with a bit of width. Sure, across the ground was the option right there. Sydney can play out for Ninkovic. King. So the setup in the attacking sense, Harps, for Newcastle is O'Donovan very much isolated with Prusho on the left and Hoffman on the right, like an arrow formation. It makes it hard for Roy when there's crosses coming in as the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, well, they'll have to tweak something. The crossing's been poor all season. And they've got into the Sydney box a couple of times in the opening quarter hour here, which should give them some hope. Nice improvisation from Ryan Grant.
Well, Ryan Grant scored off his chest in a grand final, but that was equally as impressive in terms of an achievement, to trap the ball on the ground with his chest.
He had time to give us a worm while he was there.
He could do it again there. It went across the ground. Anyway, he elects to trap it with his foot and it falls down for Sydney. That was extraordinary.
Well, how good. Could have made more of it too, Ryan.
As if he took off doing the worm, like you see at like 10 o'clock at a wedding dance floor, heading the ball along the ground. Bogart. To Paul Stanley, so they do that well, playing out Newcastle. And O'Toole can't quite link up first go with Prusho. Nikovic. Side of the boot for Barbarousis. Beautiful ball. Here's Costa again. Bumjohan. Chips it. Barbarousis. Left foot. Italiano meets it again. Asking for offside. We've seen Costa break the offside line once before in a grand final at that end.
Yeah, clever from Bumjohan. And a nice reaction from Italiano. Assistant on the far side was not interested in rubbing that one out, so that left hand of Luis Italiano, very, very important.
I'm not going to repeat exactly what Steve Corica said, but the crux of it, that he's not happy at all. Sloppy start. He has been concerned, Robbie Stanton, the assistant, noticed him on his feet more than ordinary, so... Yeah,
they get to this stage of the season, and part of him's already not wanting to have to front up to the post-match press conference and say we had chances early, we should have been clear.
Yeah.
And he's watching a similar story unfold. Costa's had 2 volleys on target now. A couple of other shooting opportunities, promising attacks from Sydney.
O'Toole. See if Newcastle can make something out of this. Ball into Crusoe here. It had to be a really slick touch, but he didn't have anyone behind him there, Luca Crusoe. So instead of the bounce pass, maybe the opportunity to turn around. Opportunity again here for Newcastle. Covering just as Caceres. Now, he's had an ankle problem, and he's feeling for that same ankle again. That's what kept him out of the starting lineup in the derby. And he's not in a good way behind play, Anthony Caceres. They can ill afford a problem in that area of the park. But here's Nikovic bursting forward into the box, just taking matters into his own hands. Nikovic, that was on target. Good save, Italiano. That burst from Miloš Nikovic, outstanding. And Newcastle just wanted it away from that area.
A decent case of silverfish in the Sydney kit bag too. If you have a look at Anthony Caceres' socks. And he's moving relatively freely. Good news for them. Key player. Great charge from Ninkovic. What a joy to watch. No sign of him slowing at all.
Got a few mates who've got the inside of the lining of their wallet. Looks like Anthony Caceres' socks. Won't go into detail right now. I'll probably get accused of the same thing, but no, they do that to air out, to alleviate the pressure on that calf region, and maybe probably a placebo effect, not to get cramps or something. But the point is, Caceres, if he cops another knock on that ankle, it's not going to be an entirely comfortable 90 minutes for him. That's a beautiful ball, though, into the path of Bumjohan. Babo has looked for the cutback. Just behind him, Caceres, nice little touch. Nikovic going through, going to ground. Nothing doing in the eyes of Alex King.
Just a bit rushed in the end, but concern for Newcastle is the space that Bumjohan got at the end. There's the ricochet off Nige Bogard into Ninkovic, who couldn't control it.
Hoffman, Doherty sprays it out to O'Toole. Delightful ball. Thurgate. Doherty finding some space in the centre of the park there. That's the issue for Newcastle. How do they move the ball quick enough to the right player at the right time to pick apart Sydney's well set 3 banks of defenders? That one's not going to cut it.
I just looked at that run off the ball then of Luca Crusoe, which was a run into a cul-de-sac. Never going to be rewarded. And you know, the youngster, he's got plenty of promise, but in that front third, he's got to get on the ball more. His team needs him. He's that type of player. That's his brief.
He doesn't have to look too far to find out what an example of that is, because it was the man that's just fouled who, every time the ball goes into the final 30, you look up and you see Ninkovic and, oh, look, he's got 2 steps away from his defender. He can receive and do something with it. Master at it. King. Bow dropping deeper. Topple Stanley read that one. His clearance wasn't really good at all. And Nikovic has asked a lot of King, who does drag it back. Bogard with the booming header away. Nikovic again. Trying to win a corner and successfully does so. Well, happily for Newcastle, they've got through this opening 15-minute period, which has caused all kinds of problems so far this season, conceding 7 goals in the opening 15. This Italiano has been a little busy. They've managed to keep a clean sheet until now. King. Sarah staying on side easily as Bumyohan. He zips it across, doesn't get past O'Donovan. Another corner, Sydney. Bumyohan out there. They can play the 2-on-1 here if they want to. They do so. Caceres to King. His left foot stays in the air a long time. And Hoffman's there to clean up. Topple Stanley gives it away. Grant just loops it over, looking for Barbarouses. A couple of Jets fall to ground, but Italiano is the one with the ball in his hands at the end of it. Jordan O'Doherty feeds Topple Stanley. He's waiting for someone to make a run, and Topple Stanley eventually spots Matt Miller. Beautifully weighted ball from the central defender. Miller's cross across the ground, and Ninkovic doesn't take any chances.
A good switch from Topple Stanley. Good experience too, because as you called it, he turned the ball over in the far corner to Sydney's advantage last time he had the ball, but regained his focus next time he was in possession, and he hit that beautiful switch which gave Newcastle an attacking opportunity. Difficult angle for Matt Miller to cross there, couldn't navigate past the first Sydney defender.
Cleared by King, but only as far as O'Doherty. He doesn't get a full boot on it. Ryan Grant is thinking about hunting it down, but let's get downstairs to Nico. And Nico, you're situated behind a rather unhappy Steve Corica.
Yeah, plenty of chances being created for both sides, but the Sydney coach really unhappy with the lack of pressure applied by his team in defence. Hopefully see if they can appease him.
Has he got cause for those complaints? Perhaps at the moment. We'll hold that thought for a sec as Bumyohan looks to zip through the middle of the park for Sydney. Only 2 ahead of him, Barbarouses and also Babo. Bumyohan was dumped after he gave the pass and wins a foul.
Now Sydney look like they're in good control of the game. Newcastle defending stoutly, just missing that final piece. Steve Corica, as we've heard already, disappointed with some of the application.
It'll take something outrageous for Bumyohan to make the net bulge from this far out. Italiano getting his wall set. Chips it over, looping, looking for McGowan, but Topple Stanley was his matchup, and Topple Stanley wins the battle.
Yeah, well defended, good run from McGowan. Topple Stanley had to go with him pace for pace, or else McGowan would have squared that, you fancy, to an oncoming Sydney support.
Another corner for Sydney, their 3rd in as many minutes. Bumyohan, Italiano called early and did well. Robbie Stanton, the assistant coach for Sydney FC, who's in charge of set pieces, walks back to his chair, just angry that the execution wasn't there from the set piece. A lot of work goes into them. I wonder how many hours of lost sleep there is for an assistant coach who comes up with set pieces 2 o'clock in the morning, comes up with this new idea to move this. It's a science. "27 minutes in, Newcastle held firm so far. Certainly Luis Italiano, the busier of the two keepers. Sydney looking to make him even busier right now. Caceres looks to be moving okay on that ankle after a re-aggravation. Smoothie is on the ball. Ninkovic wins another foul. Alex King says to Jordan O'Doherty, "Didn't leave me much option there, mate." Just how Caceres moves and glides. It's gliding on the ball. It's not so much moving on the ball.
He's fantastic, and consistently we haven't seen the best of him still, and that's how much of an opinion I've got of him. I think he's
weird, isn't it?
He's a beautiful footballer.
28 years of age. He's played nearly 170 games in the A-League, and it's weird that you still think that there's much more to come. Bumyahan. Good shape to that one, and just over. Babo, he would have liked that off the head. Just had a little too much on it.
Well, typical of number 9s from Brazil. Very, very good offensive headers of the ball. The best this comp's seen. Fernando Rech, also from Brazil. Babo, outstanding practitioner as well.
Is that all the hours spent on beaches playing foot volley?
Most certainly. Most certainly contributes.
It's a spectacle in itself if you ever get to...
Should be an Olympic sport.
Yes.
In fact, if the Olympics was half smart, they'd have about 6 football variants. I mean, I still don't understand why futsal's not in there. Anyway, I digress.
Ninkovic, quick switch, Bumyahan, bicycle kick, if you don't mind, just into the opposition's half, out to Ryan Grant, straight into his path as well. All forward runners there for Sydney was causing a bit of havoc. Ninkovic looks to pass it into one of the corners. Instead, he went right down the middle.
Well, I think most people were probably expecting Ninkovic to do more with this. Great space, little dummy. Miller frozen to the spot. Didn't quite get on it. What he needed there, Milos Ninkovic.
What do you make of the characteristics you've seen so far in this game from Newcastle Jets? Is it a side that's obviously, I mean, you've never seen a confident we're out without a win in 11 side, but just trying to work their way into the contest?
Yeah, look, I like the way they've set up today to try and nullify Sydney and play from there. And they're working really hard to shed the coat that they wear of being the bottom place team.
King didn't see any of the contact that Paulo Retre is feeling right now from O'Doherty. Late whistle. Foul for... Went on the edge of the 18-yard box. As we have a look at that, and it was adjudged to be clean. Weird one, that.
I think they both went for the ball. Foul was later up the field. Good opportunity this for Newcastle. Put Sydney back on their heels. A good delivery is all that's asked for here, and they've got plenty of weapons in the box. Jackson, Topor Stanley, Bogart, Miller, O'Donovan. All imposing figures. Just needs a good delivery.
This looked to be a shallow 10 yards for those two Sydney players in the wall. Hoffman's the one to take it. He's looking for the fast stick. And taking no chances at the back was Caceres. Topor Stanley was lurking. Hoffman, good delivery from the free kick, gets a chance from the corner now. A lot of players in the 6-yard box. That's where it's heading. Redmayne jumped early, back from third gate. Topple Stanley flying through, shot. Sydney can break here. Far side, Barbarouses is off. If Beaumont can find him, there's a chance. Caceres battling for it. It's still alive for Sydney going forward. Bogard misses him. Beaumont is brought down by Hoffman. No problem. No foul at the very least. Still maybe a problem for the Jets though. Ryan Grant, explosive forward run. Ninkovic just hanging about, nearly falls to his feet. Third gate can go back the other way, but it's a little too much on it to find Luca Prucho.
Well, it's a poor release from third gate. I thought it was a lucky run for Sydney to get out of. I thought Beaumont was fouled there, clearly. Whacked off the ball.
Game all of a sudden becomes stretched, as it does sometimes from corners when everyone's out of position. One side goes forward, the other side can go back at them off the back of that. Here's Sydney. Beaumont's got himself into a good area. Doesn't beat Topple Stanley. They're keeping that last line nice and flat, Newcastle, but as the half goes on and the game as such, they're put under that amount of pressure by wide releases. There's going to be 1 or 2 chances for Sydney strikers to capitalise, you'd imagine. Trey Grant, Beaumont looking to work something, but Grant looks to go the other side. Ball with his left, and up to it, and Hoffman can go the other way. Out to Luca Prucho. Gets back on his right. Prucho touched over by Redmayne.
Well done from the Jets. A turnover from Ryan Grant. Jason Hoffman leads the charge and finds Prucho, and it's a good, solid strike at goal, comfortably deflected away by Andrew Redmayne, but there's an example for Luca Prucho of how he needs to get the ball and attack the goal, not necessarily run away from the goal with supporting runs. Of course, there's going to be occasions for that, but he's got to focus on getting that ball and attacking the goal.
First time Andrew Redmayne's been called into action. Maybe again here. It's a good corner. Straight at Redmayne, that header. Sydney looked to break quickly. Ryan Grant takes off. Nikolai Topple Stanley was like, I don't really want to have to run after you, but he did. He brought him down. Babo. Caceres. Still not set here in Newcastle, but Sydney elect to go down the path of control rather than exploding forward again. Here's Ninkovic. He wants to quicken the tempo. Out to Grant. Nearly finds Ninkovic, but Thurgate was in the way. O'Toole coughs it up. Beaumont. Only one in the box. It's way over Babo. So again, the delivery can't quite be found for Sydney FC. Nigel Bogart back in the team finally. Missed him heavily. He was part of 4 losses in a row before he got injured, but his unavailability certainly didn't help Newcastle's situation. Appears to be perhaps a bit more steel about them in organisation.
Yeah, no, they've been much better in this opening 35 minutes.
It's a lovely ball, but Hoffman took his time to bring it under control. That split second that allowed Sydney to calibrate. The cross from O'Toole, and they had 3 in the box that time. Miller was joined by O'Donovan and Hoffman. That was the time for Connor O'Toole to find his range. He gets another chance here, perhaps. Back to Thurgate. Jackson Craig Dean's unhappy that they've come this way. Topor Stanley, the big switch. Joel King read it well. Very well. He's got past Miller. Ninkovic. It's good defending from Jackson. Tried the flamboyant though off winning the ball. Wilkinson just clears. A few little moments there for the Jets of promise.
Well, they're growing in confidence, there's no doubt. They set up well to start the game. We made that reference. Blocked the centre of the field off as best they could. Their last three have defended well. Sydney have had a couple of sides at goal that they couldn't maximise. The Jets now growing ahead of steam.
Here's O'Toole off the back of some good work from O'Doherty. This cross is better. Hoffman was almost trying to trap it with his left. O'Doherty, and that's a field goal. Right over the black dot.
That's much better again. And you know, to again refer to Steve Corica's irritation early, just never quite got set there, O'Doherty. That not taking those early chances, not that they were, you know, brilliant chances and massive misses, but they still had good attacks on goal. And he's had plenty of press conferences after games this season when he's watched points and had to account for points that have evaporated because they didn't capitalise on early opportunities. And the Jets have ridden the early storm. They've been pretty solid, and now they're starting to play some of their own football and grow in confidence.
Ninkovic. Barbarouses lets it go, gives himself time to evaluate options. That option he picks out is Retre. Back to Barbarouses. King. His cross finds Grant. Side to side from Sydney. Johan's ball to Caceres is asking too much. Miller attempts to take off. Looking for Pruchot. Didn't quite get the pass how he maybe wanted to. Caceres. Wilkinson approaching the final 5 minutes of this first half, in which Sydney had the better of the chances, but as Harp says, it's the same old in terms of not taking those chances when they present themselves. Doing Steve Corica's head in. Johan, a shirt tuck there from Thurgate. Well read by Topor Stanley. O'Donovan tries to release Pruchot, but a little too much on it.
That's a good idea. A good idea. They've really established a good foundation here. You can see the home team. They're growing in confidence and belief. It's been a solid start. They've kept a clean sheet to this point, and they've had a couple of very good raids on the Sydney goal themselves.
Caceres, Ninkovic making an inside run on that occasion, which allows Wilkinson to go forward a little. Ninkovic caught from behind perhaps by Jackson. No. Sydney go back out the other side. Changed his mind, Ryan McGowan. Caceres. Ninkovic. Pavo. Out to King. First time cross. Barbarouses was the only Sydney player in the box when that cross was made, but Ninkovic goes in and the touch is a little heavy, allows Thurgate to nick it and Hoffman to come away. Tried to play forward quickly the last couple of times, the Jets, and it's fallen down. It's only bringing about a bit more pressure from the away side. Bogo making sure this last line is set for the Jets. And Jackson was in that line until he sensed an opportunity to pounce, and pounce he did. And Matt Miller goes away now. He's got Hoffman busting a lung to get alongside. Jason Hoffman with the shot straight at Redmayne. Ninkovic glides by O'Doherty. What a ball to Bomjohan in his path as well, who was looking for Barbarouses, who was actually the other side of his defender.
Yeah, it wasn't going to make Costa. And there was a touch, carry and drive yourself from Bomjohan, but what a pass from Ninkovic on the back of a fantastic run from Matt Miller. That's more like it. In truth, Jace Hoffman never really looked likely, even from that angle and that range. Another good building block from Newcastle.
Look at that, the last 4 shots of this contest, all for Newcastle. Thurgate to Bogart. Good ball out to O'Toole. Can he find the ball this time? No, looks to go to Crucial. Thurgate pressured by Barbarouses, so he brings Italiano into it. To Paul Stanley. Maybe expecting Donovan to make a run in behind. Ninkovic has it now. Right side of the boot that time to Barbarouses. Costa looking to take Topor Stanley on. It's good defending, but Babo's going to win the race to the deflection. All the way back to Rattray. Can they ask a big question on the cusp of half-time? Sydney FC. McGowan. Caceres. For a foul and winning a foul. Frustrating half for Sydney FC and Steve Corica. Corica has not sat down once. His arms folded.
Yeah, well, he's probably wanting a little bit what he thinks, a bit more protection for some of his players. Certainly Jason Hoffman, the way he presented for that challenge on Anthony Caceres, I think can consider himself lucky he didn't get a yellow card.
Alex Bomjohan with the free kick. McGowan's up there. Wilkinson's at the far stick. Won't reach him. Italiano does well. It's Wilkinson, goal-scoring machine. 2 for the season. After waiting about 10 years for his 3rd A-League goal, he's got 4 now after scoring in the derby. Offside against Sydney FC as we are well into the final minute of this half. Newcastle will be pretty happy with how it stands at the moment. A fair bit more solidity about this performance than we've seen in this winless run of 9 for the home side. Jackson, go back and get this one. Italiano changes his mind and just finds touch. So that's the first half. A bit more frustration for Sydney FC. A glut of chances not taken. A couple for Costa Barbarouses, who's looking to go equal 5th all-time A-League goal scorer, with Alex Brosk. He's 74, Brosk 75. But Newcastle, I won't say a new-look Newcastle, but a better-looking Newcastle, especially in terms of organisation. As Anthony Caceres has a chat with his boot off, walking off to Alex King, the referee. The home fans appreciative of their side's efforts so far. But at half-time, it's Newcastle 0, Sydney FC 0. And standing by with Nico downstairs is Costa Barbarouses.
Well, Costa